Board meeting. Here's the pledge of allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I can call student recognition.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight we have a boisterous crowd. As you know, we're finishing up our winter sports, and we have tonight our boys and girls swim teams to celebrate their excellent showing, not only at the state meet but throughout the year. I'd like to introduce our head coach of the both programs, Adam Boomer Nelson.
All right, well, thank you, Dr. McCall, I appreciate it. Got some stuff to talk about. We had a phenomenal year this year. So when you sit down and you kind of have a moment to breathe and kind of recap everything, it's been one to remember for us. It kind of starts for us at the top with our staff. Myself, Austin Butcher behind me, who's attending. One of our other assistants, Sarah Welter, who couldn't make it today, Nate Quinlan, who couldn't make it today, and then Bill Chappell, our diving coach. And it starts with the time and dedication that they put into it, just like anyone who cares about something that they do on a consistent basis, and especially looking at the 5:30 a.m. practices and the going till 5:15, 5:30 in the evening, missing out on family events, things like that. I couldn't be more pleased to have this group of coaches with me helping guide this group of young men and women here. But we're here to really kind of talk about them a little bit. So I'm gonna introduce them and have them stand up as well so we can kind of put a name with the face. For the girls, Evie Papakronis, right here, she's a freshman swimmer for us. You can just, there you go. Maddie Morith, a junior here, is her favorite part, has been recognized. Abby Lee, sophomore for us. And then Amaya Sparks, a junior for us. This group of four of these ladies here were state runner-up in the 200 medley relay. We were 5th last year, so we really moved up just a little bit to what we sometimes in the state of swimming believe is kind of winning state when you compete against a team as dominant as some friends down in the South that we won't talk about, but they did a phenomenal job. They dominated from the get-go all year. They actually, I was going through and doing some research, they broke their own school record this year alone 3 times. So I couldn't be more pleased. As a coach, the best thing is they're all coming back next year, like, right? So we're really excited about that. On the flip side, introducing the boys, their state runner-up relay team. We have Jake Schroeder here. He's a sophomore. We have Jonah Lee, a senior. We have Katie Smith, also senior. George Patterson, who's a senior as well. And as excited as I am to have the girls all coming back, I'm kind of sad to have 3/4 of the boys leaving from this relay team. And it goes beyond them. It's a special group for us. They are kind of the last full group that remembers swimming in what was our old pool, or as we called it, the dungeon. You know, this last group, along with some of their other seniors, Hashan Karunaratne, Ian Kennedy, Kate Kennedy, Court Wallace. They were all that core group of seniors that remembers that old pool and transitioned over to our new facility, which which has been amazing. So we're definitely gonna miss this group of guys. But beyond that, we did do a little bit more than just those two relays. From a state meet perspective, for the girls podium finishers, Amaya was 11th and 9th in the 100 free. So Logan Williams, one of our divers, was 10th. And then our 400 free relay of Amaya, Evie, Ava Hearn, and Abby Lee finished 6th and also medaled for us on the girls' side. Same on the boys' side, podium finishers. George Patterson was 3rd in the 200 free and 5th in the 100 free. Joey Rojak finished 14th in the 50 free. Our 200 free relay finished 11th with Court Wallace, Dean Papakronis, Caden, and then Joey, who I mentioned earlier. Jake Schroeder finished 16th in the 100 backstroke. And then our 400 free relay of Joey, Caden, Hashan Karunaratne, and George finished 6th at the state meet in the 400 free relay. So we had an amazing year and season, and as much as I'm excited to see the girls stay, I'm really sad to see the guys go. It was an amazing year. As far as we go, from a state perspective, this was on the girls' side, we finished 10th. That was the best state finish since 1994. On the boys' side, we finished 8th. That was the best finish since 1996 for us. I do also want to mention the senior boys. They are the first ones to win a sectional since my senior year in 1998. So that was 24 years ago. They've actually did it back to back, which was pretty awesome to beat our friends up in the north. And then, also to kind of talk about something else, and we have it up already, but our state champs, we do have 2 state champs here. So Maddie Moore and then Jonah Lee, you guys can both stand up at this time here. They are both state champions, both in the 100 breaststroke, which is awesome. Not talking about the team down south, but it's the first time that this has happened. The same school wins state championships in the same event in 12 years. That's happened, so that was pretty awesome. For Maddie, this is a first individual state champ for a girl since Kristen Johnson in the 50 free in 1992. Oh. Yeah. That's impressive, just wait. For Jonah, he is the first state champ for the boys since Brian Benedict in the 50 free in 1987. Oh. So we couldn't be happier. Again, this is kind of that bittersweet situation. Maddie will be back next year. Unfortunately, Jonah will not. Jonah will be attending Purdue University and swimming there, so we're super excited for him. Both these young student athletes are also MVPs of our conference, so that would be the first time VAPO has done that since 1997. So that's pretty awesome. All right, and then Maddie, you can sit down. This one's. No, you can stay up, Jonah. And then I also want to make recognition to Jonah Lee here. He won the Mental Attitude Award, the Herman F. Keller Mental Attitude Award at the Swimming and Diving State Meet. It's a big deal for all those. Jonah put in a lot of work to achieve that, which was awesome. Going back a little bit, he is the first Mental Attitude Award winner for swimming and diving since Craig McCarran in 1979 and 1980. Wow. So
is Jonah going to make a speech?
Jonah, I don't know if we really want that or not. So that's kind of the overall recap of everything. We had a phenomenal year. I just want to conclude by thanking all of them for their hard work and time. As I mentioned earlier, 5 a.m. comes really early when you're a student athlete, and they complain. I will say that, but they get in and do it, and they work hard to achieve their goals, and they definitely demonstrate the student athlete part of what we do here. I also want to thank the parents for all their support. Obviously, as Dr. McCall mentioned, we have a big crowd, and I'm sure they're not here to see you talk, they're here to see them talk. So I couldn't do it without them. And I also personally want to thank you guys as a school board, as well as our upper admin with Dr. McCall. We couldn't do what we do without your guys' support, from getting us out of the dungeon, building the new pool, to showing up and being part of it. Specifically want to thank Dr. McCall as well as Dr. Allison for their support. I have no doubt some superintendents may not know where the pool is in their schools, but Dr. McCall definitely does, and that means a lot, and I try to let them know that it's not every day your superintendent comes to all your meets and goes to the state swim meet and things like that. So the support means a lot. So thank you guys for all you do for our student athletes and us as coaches. Couldn't be more proud. Let's try to do this again. Right? So thank you.
Boomer, thank you for your leadership. I know coaching a team as one whole team has its challenges, but I think you've taken it as opportunities to build an excellent staff that can support the students on both an individual and team basis. See the growth that those opportunities present, iron sharpening iron, boys and girls swimming alongside and against each other every day. It's a healthy competition, one that raises all boats, raises all swimmers, and lowers all times, right? Just could not be more proud. I know Jonah is the one with the award, but up and down the roster, great kids, working hard, doing great things, really making the school and community proud. Good job, guys. If we can, we'd love to take kind of a group picture up here in front. Come on up, bring your hardware as well. If you brought it, excellent. They'll show up nicely against the black sweatshirts. I appreciate the team uniforms. Maybe not swim with the sweatshirts.
Wear them a lot though.
Come on up, make a couple of rows here. George, you're in back.
They're all tall.
Yeah, Kay, you might have to stand there.
Walk up there and take that picture.
And then Dr. Hawkins will send out a picture to everybody that she took at her school. We did have the food service department cook up special cookies to commemorate it, so they're out in the lobby. Everyone take at least one, but then take as many as you want home for yourselves or siblings or anybody else you got. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you. You are welcome to exit. All right, go get some cookies, nice cream.
Or go pack.
Or go pack for a spring break.
Do you have a perfect one?
Yes.
Oh, untouched. Perfect bracket.
Oh, yeah, right. So
Just
far.
Michigan State going out.
Thank you.
First round. Yeah.
pertaining to agenda action items.
No one signed.
Go ahead.
Just read this quick statement before you start. As a reminder to patrons of operators of community schools, you'll be given 3 minutes to give the board comments on educational issues. You're reminded decorum is expected, and discussions, charges, complaints involving personnel, litigation, and student discipline will not be permitted. We expect you to address your comments to the board, not to the audience. Patrons and attendants are asked not to provide any comments or remarks during the speaker's address or afterwards, including any applause. This is an opportunity for you to provide information to the board, not to enter into a debate of personal accounts.
Would you mind signing in that? Sorry, give a little bit.
You're fine. No problem.
Actually, this pertains to the item up for public hearing, so be during the public hearing on it. Never.
Okay, so seeing as there is no public comment, we can move on to consent agenda. That requires approval of the consent agenda board. Do I have a motion?
I will go with
Do I have a second?
second.
Thank you. Do you have any discussion regarding the consent agenda? Seeing as there is no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Board. Next item. Recommendation for employment of candidate pursuant to section IC 20-26-5-11.2. Dr. McCall.
The information is in your packet. It is a matter of a statute. It's a separate agenda item. Recommend approval for classified staff.
Okay, this item does require action, board. Do I have a motion for recommendation for employment of candidate?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Do we have any discussion regarding the employment of candidate pursuant to the statute? Seeing as there is no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Thank you. Financial reports. Performance of budget funds. Mr. Holderfield.
Thank you, Mr. President. Each month we present our financial report comparing the year-to-date revenue to year-to-date expenditures for our tax-supported funds. Our year-to-date performance of funds report for February 28th, 2025 shows the following. In the education fund, year-to-date revenue of $8,979,647, year-to-date expenditures of $9,863,192. Expenditures have exceeded revenue. The expenditures do include the monthly $645,000 transfer to the operation fund, and also just a reminder that January was a prepaid month. In the debt service fund, no revenue today. The expenditures were the payments of $1,975,781. All debt service payments due to date have been made for the fiscal year, and there's next tax draw is in June. The pension debt fund, year-to-date revenue is $150,000. That's a temporary loan from rainy day fund for cash flow purposes. The year-to-date expenditures for the pension debt is $706,842. All the pension debt funds have been made to date, and there will be a tax draw in June. In the operations fund, the year-to-date revenue of $1,530,740, and the year-to-date expenditures of $4,595,353. The revenue does include the $645,000 transfer from the education fund, and this fund will also have a tax draw in June. In the operating referendum, year-to-date revenue, $880. Year-to-date expenditures of $1,039,243. And this fund will also have the tax draw in June. The capital referendum has no year-to-date revenue nor expenditures. And the rainy day fund has no revenue to date, but the expenditure is the aforementioned $150,000 temporary loan to pension debt fund that we paid back in December. We believe a review of the fund shows a positive financial position. So if there are no questions, we ask approval for the financial reports for February of 2025.
Thank you. Board, do we have any discussion? Mr. Woodford? This item does require action. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Seeing as there is no discussion, Mr. Woodford, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, contract considerations, Dr. McCall.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have two, both dealing with our arts department, specifically drama. One with play scripts for the licensing agreement for the yet to be named. We know what it is, but it's not public information yet. There will be a grand reveal later in the season. So we honor that. For their performance in November for 988.83, and then Theater World backdrop for a theater backdrop rental package for April for $546.81, and both contracts were.
So moved. We have a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Grants, Dr. Barkner.
We have none this evening.
Donations and gifts, Dr. Mark.
Very much. For Heveland Elementary, $1,164 from Bethel Schools Foundation to be used at principal's discretion. The Heveland PTO donated $305 for the first grade field trip to the Challenger Learning Center. And Applebee's donated 600 achievement awards for free kids meals for student incentives. Thomas Jefferson Elementary received $596 from Bethel Schools Foundation to be used at principal's discretion. BF Middle School received $1,000 for their Viking Pride Behavior Program from Leanne and Dave Brown in honor of #BeLikeKeegan. Valparaiso High School Student Council received $1,500 from the Friends of Ed Soliday for their State House field trip. And Inman's Bowling, Mike Paquet, donated the use of the bowling center for 5 days of practice, sectional competition lasting 1 hour, 10 lanes and 30 pairs of shoes valued at $579.89 for our unified bowling team. District-wide, Marion Ray donated $25 to the Backpacks and Snacks program, which also received $125 from Jeffrey and Diane Minot. Over 2,800 shelf-stable food items from Belleville Parks, $250 anonymous donation, and a $25 donation from Mary Willis. The school nutrition program also received $25 from Mary Willis, and $1,592.67 from the First United Methodist Church. Valparaiso Noon Kiwanis Club donated 30 tickets for the annual pancake breakfast valued at $240 for students in need. Salvation Army donated 14 gift bags containing tissues, candy, pen, and a fidget item for the school social work used during their school week.
All right, board.
I think it's for student use, not social work.
It was celebrating the social workers and thanking them, but I think yes, using those videos.
Or maybe they need.
Maybe.
Okay, this item does require action. Do I have a motion?
I'm going to accept the donations and gifts.
We have a second. We have any discussion for Dr. McCall regarding the donations and gifts? Seeing as there is no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you, board. Okay, old business. Preliminary determination for public hearing number 2 on 2 facility improvement and equipping projects. Dr. McCall.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, you're able to open up the public hearing for the determination on the 2 facility improvement and improvement projects that we've been going over at the last 4 board meetings. So this will be the second hearing for that determination for action. Move on to the next step. So, pause this meeting and open up public hearing. Will anyone on the board do the presentation that we've gone over 2 months? Then move straight to public comment.
We're open up for public comment, so Joe, if you'd like to come up, please. State your name and address.
My name is Joseph Witt. I live locally on Drive in Valparaiso. I'm the scholastics director for Valpo Pop Warner. And as a board member of that organization, we just wanted to present, we're not be an argument or fight. We have a small concern because our program in the fall houses well over 200 athletes, plus parents and coaches that need parking and other facility access. And our approval process goes beyond the school board, also goes to a parent organization, Northern Indiana Pop Warner Little Scholars. So our process is not quick or as easy when it comes to relocating fields. We have an understanding that the Vale field, Hayes Leonard field, is going to be under construction starting next year sometime, and that will decrease the fields that are available for us to use. So we were asking if we could receive more information as to the board's plan for relocating our program, because we are a feeder program for both the middle schools and the high schools when it comes to football and cheer. So that's what we're asking for, is updated information so that we can start the process of getting all of our ducks in a row and our I's dotted and our T's crossed. So we'll continue to work together as we value your partnership and continuing this program.
Thank you. I will tell you that the Valpo Pop Warner president, Kirsten Kuss, reached out to me and the board late last month and voicing the same concerns. And I wrote to her, told her we are 100% committed to our community partners, Valpo Pop Warner included. My own son went through tackle football with Valpo Pop Warner. He graduated a couple of years ago. Know the commitment to more than just football, to character development, to elastics, well, and that, as I told President Kuss, we are committed to taking a look at our complete inventory and working with Valpo Pop Warner and our other community partners to ensure that we don't have any gaps. Obviously, the field size at Vale is conducive to multiple teams being on there at once. So there might be some concession on your part as far as staggered or more multiple sites than what you're used to, but we're going to find room for everybody during your spring season. Good news is we do have a lot of lead-in time before we even get to that point. Certainly won't be this fall, the fall of 26. Any impact? We'll have a plan working together with you to make sure that we can accommodate. There?
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Anyone else? They didn't have to sign in. Anyone else present would like to speak on projects that have been proposed? Welcome to.
Business.
Yeah, and I'll just say, any comments that do come up, questions that come up, follow-ups, you're welcome to reach out to me by email, jmccall@valpo.k12.in.us website, and I'm happy to answer any questions, comments, concerns, or welcome any ideas that you have as we projects.
New business, board consideration to approve 2025-2026 bail preliminary determination reimbursement resolution. Roll call.
The resolution is in your packets. This one, as well as the next one, taken as two separate action items, give us the permission to move forward in the process through the statutory filing period, the design phases. This is not give ultimate approval for issuing bonds. That will come no earlier than the July board meeting. This through the process. Could add under that?
No. It covers it.
Okay, board, this item does require action. Do you have any discussion for Dr. McCall?
I don't know if this is the place to ask this, but when we're talking about the financial impact of not only the bond, but the cuts in the legislation that are coming down, I know we don't completely know how that's going to turn out, but I also know that we've been, as a board, and you as a superintendent and administrators have been trying to work on how we would make up for the deficit. And so I don't know if this is the place to ask a question about that.
Financial impacts.
Okay. Well, I know we would have to look at places where we can counteract those cuts from the legislature. And one thing that you had explained to me was about the pension debt fund expiration. Would you explain that a little bit?
Sure. So this would be in regard to our limits on the maximum levy growth quotient. The next year there will be 0% growth quotient, 1% and 2, and 2% max growth. So when we're thinking about our levy, our operations, what it's going to do is it puts a limit on how much it can grow. So what we're talking about is unrealized revenue. Not necessarily cuts, but we're going to be working with less money than what we would have had without the growth quotient. So when we're looking at that and assuming positive growth in our assessed valuation, which is outrageous, what you're going to find is that our operations levy won't grow in year 1 and 2. Right now, it's $12.5 million as the total levy. Now, 0.95 of that is made up by our obligation for debt fund, which is neutral to the total levy. So, if we have a $12.5 million total levy, 0.95 is the pension bond, then we have around $11.5 million operations. Next year, we're going to realize $250,000 of buying power in the operations fund because that's going to be the reduction of our pension debt. So as a result, although our levy stays the same, our buying power slightly increases because of the lesser offset by the pension fund. So in year 1, under the proposal, we would be shorted about $500,000 of potential revenue that we could have had, but we won't realize as a result. But we're gaining $2,000 of buying power through our same levy that we're getting now. So we're really unrealizing $250,000. So taken together in year 2, where it's by the legislative service mapped out to be about $1 million unrealized revenue gain, the pension offset will be about $700,000. So that's 250 plus 700 is that 0.95, that 9,000 offset. So that 700,000 is gonna offset $1 million, leave about 3,000. Again, would we be better off with it in full? Absolutely. Do more with more. But we're also gonna be able to calibrate our expenditures revenue given that plan. That's gonna be our charge. Just like in your own household, if you have your annual budget based off of your current income, and you're planning for next year, and you're thinking about, well, looking at it may be a raise in our income, and so you're plotting out your budget. If you don't get that 2% raise, what do? Gotta recalibrate something. And match your revenues expenditure. Now, some of that may be titrating out your cash balance in your account or borrowing a little bit from do so. And in effect, that's kind of what we're doing when we're having our pension fund offset impact also be able to calibrate our expenses. So we have to forecast funds, a softer landing in that recovery. We don't want any jarring movements, especially what's out of the operations. And these are two very different funds. We think about the education fund and the allowable expense out of that people, classroom, the operations that we're talking about, which are for transportation, your maintenance, utilities, insurance. Some of these are controllable, some of those are uncontrollable. So again, that calibration would be get to that offline. This is I hope that was in-depth analysis of it.
I have just a couple others. The one about the $250,000 offset. As I understand it, that is from teachers who were hired many years ago who had bigger perks or severance of some sort that expires. Is that where that money comes from?
Absolutely. Way back in the day, early part of my teaching, there were severance packages built off of different formulas and really below the unused that became what was an unfunded liability because you didn't know when they were going to retire and how many sick days they were going to. You were rolling the dice on having enough money in hand to be able to pay those. So the state came in and had an unfunded liability. A bad spot. So what happened was you had to bond it out. And so it went through actuarial study, went through max outlay, given all parameters in the room right now, what is that outlay going to be? And then you bonded it so that it was a funded liability. That's also when it stopped being a benefit who qualified at the time.
And many school districts in the state had to do a similar thing as us. So this was very common when the state stepped in and said you can't have funded liability.
Can you maybe bring up slide 22 of the deck, just a visual to go along with these talking about the funds?
Sure. Hey, Chris?
I just think sometimes it helps to understand. We're throwing out all these terms.
Well, that's why I asked for an explanation too. It's hard to understand some of these.
And the best thing about streaming and archiving is that they can access and listen to it as many times as needed. And again, email me with questions. we talked about. So, great slide to illustrate the different color codes of the debt that we have. That would be with the bonds, operations fund in gray, the exempt debt service fund, operating referendum fund, and then the orange pension fund. You can see dropping off completely in 2026.
That's when those bonds are totally paid off.
And with this bond, correct, we wouldn't have it until when? I know we talked about
It will start also in 26.
that's what, okay.
And what the whole idea is, we're trying to keep the debt service tax rate the same so that it's not an increase. We're keeping our outlook. You can kind of see that with the graph there, pretty level. Again, can't project what future years assessed values will be. This is based on projections that municipal advisors and underwriter have presented.
The other thing, is, just so the audience understands, when he talks about the levy, he's talking about your local property taxes. Correct me if I'm wrong. The local property, this isn't the state sales tax that funds the education fund. This is the local property tax levy.
Or debt service.
Or debt service, correct.
On the bond, if the interest rate changes, if interest rates change, we have ability to refinance. Is that, or is it just is what?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, you can, but you have to wait a certain time. You have to wait a number of years.
Usually somewhere between 7 and 10 years. I don't know that that's been determined yet. There'll be a call feature. But on the day that we do sell bonds, it'll be a fixed rate for the 20-year period.
I know Kay touched on some of the funding shifting, but like if enrollment declines, do we have any concerns there with?
No, those are two totally different funds. Enrollment declines, that's ADM, which is into fund full grants. Likewise, if enrollment increases, we want to be able to use those to funds pay down these bonds. Completely separate funds.
Okay, so my other question was, if we have to use the rainy day funds, we have those, and this could be a rainy day that's coming. Is there a maximum that we would allow ourselves to take out so that we keep balance in that rainy day fund? And if we have to take some out, how will we replenish?
Well, great question. Rainy day funds for rainy days. We've got some arrows in the quiver. Fire off. So good financial strength, especially you want to be careful. I lived through those days back in 2000 where we didn't have a rainy day. Struggle that we have. We want to protect it, but use it when it's there to use. But if you're asking me for the floor that you really don't want to go, and that floor is not zero, I would tell you 6%, is we're trying to maintain kind of 6% would be a recommended floor. It's up to 6%, but I would not recommend 6% to go below. And you're not going to be able to recover well, but that recovery is important. If you were at 7, okay, you would have a different floor. But I'm saying we're at 10%. my floor would be 6. We should be hitting that coming back up. So how are we going to get at the same way we've been doing, which is watching our expenditures for revenue and utilizing our miscellaneous revenue effectively. So we're budgeting to expected revenue, what we count on in recurring dollars, and something like our interest revenue investment is nice to have. So that would be over and beyond what we budgeted for. Want to be back into savings account, build back up next spring.
Okay, I have one more thing. And it's just kind of along the same line, but it's something that was worrying me. And then I talked to you and it cleared it up for me. So I thought maybe it would clear it up for others. But with Senate Bill 518, which could shift funding away from public schools to charter schools, that was a bit of a scary thought to me because I didn't understand it very well. But a lot of it is based on the eligibility of those schools. So what you explained to me, which maybe you'd like to explain and have in our minutes, is that we don't have eligible charter schools in our district at this time. So at this time, that would not affect.
It's currently written. We're obviously very mindful, monitor that, we engage our lawmakers. This avenue, let them know what needs to be or potential. But right now, 94 students who attend live in Center Township but attend charter schools. Various reasons that are right for their family. No one charter school than 35 students of Center Township. We don't have a brick and mortar charter. Qualifying for considering those levying dollars. So as of right now, it doesn't affect us, nor does it affect the bond project.
And if I understand it right, if there is a charter school, that one school has to have at least 100 students. Is that correct?
It depends. Again, the version of the bill is going to be from the board.
And it's not really in its final version yet.
Great question.
Anybody else, Director McCall?
I have a few more. So with the economic conditions, this might be more for you. Are there contingencies for cost overruns, or have we already kind of account for inflation?
Long-term, when we budget, we budget conservatively, so it does happen. Because I think in long-term, I would call it very good at creating a soft land, like for the ESSER fund. Huge flux of money wasn't going. So the operator did a great job of planning on use that money, but also weaning off of it way. So yes, in the short term, and also
one of the things I think that question all of this would be our investment in solar. So one of those operational costs that's hard to control. So by investing in solar, creating our own, buying on grid and NIPSCO, getting those rate hikes, you're able to utilize more and more savings of the both in and long term. Okay.
And in the first phase, we should save $1 million, is that correct?
So the first phase would have a $1 million rebate.
Rebate. And the second should have $4 million
Of
if
rebate.
that's happened, if it's not taken.
Right, but even without the rebate, savings is significant over life of the 25-year per year, 40% of the energy used is generated by
with, we're doing closing building, new buildings. Significant overhauls to plumbing and decorating. Have we factored in if there's going to be ongoing maintenance costs associated to these or any?
We'll budget those in when we pull them in or cost them.
But to that point, one, the retro commissioning and calibration of units usage part of our process, strata line and partners. And then remember that not only does JM have rooftop units that's going to decrease BF, in addition to higher quality units, also like taken off.
I see, we have Randy Rumpola from Farms and Thornburg. Is there anything you need to share with us before we consider?
Thank you. Again, Randy Rumpola, Farms and Thornburg, I'm filling in for Jeff Rockenbush, who is out of town or out of the state this week. The one thing I guess I would point out, looking at this chart and looking at the bonds that have been proposed and structured with the debt service, not knowing what the legislature may ultimately end up doing, you will have further approvals, as Dr. McCall mentioned earlier. This is just one step in the process so that as the financings move forward, there would be opportunities after the end of the session to sort of revisit all of this. So to the extent there is anything even more draconian than what's currently pending, you would have the ability to sort of re-look at all of this. The financial advisors, Steve and others will be able to do that. So you'll have another bite at the apple. So just review to make sure that nothing dramatic. And I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Any other questions? This item does require action tonight, Board. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? First. There's a second one. Board consideration for 2025-2026 middle schools preliminary determination reimbursement. Yeah, same thing. No further questions? I have a motion. A second. There's no further discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay. Board consideration for permission to advertise bus bids.
Thank you, Mr. President. Each year, the bus replacement plan is approved and appropriations are provided to purchase new school buses. It's time to advertise for bids to replace 4 of our Type C 66 passenger buses and 1 of our 15 passenger activity buses. These buses will be replaced with 2 78 passenger buses, 1 72 passenger bus, and 3 15 passenger activity or mini buses. The budget approved for the purchase of these buses is $795,800. And just note, our last 2 purchases were for propane powered buses. We still have needs for gasoline powered buses, so these buses will all be gasoline. We have longer trips out of town where refilling propane wouldn't be realistic. So these will be gasoline powered, but we will be visiting propane buses in year. The administration requests that the board approve the advertisement of bus bids 425.
This is something we do every year. Questions for Mr. Holt? Questions? Action? Motion? So moved. Second?
Second.
I guess there's no discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay. Board consideration for permission to apply for advancement from the Common School Fund.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are requesting permission to apply for an advancement from the Common School Fund through the Indiana Department of Education in the amount of $635,516 in order to purchase the following technology items: 400 Chromebooks for the 3rd grade, 550 Chromebooks for 4th grade, 200 teacher laptops, 35 units of classroom TVs, projectors, and the connectivity hardware with that, 16 iPads for math and science teachers, and 152 document cameras. We currently have 2 common school loans, B0493 and B0256. The final payment on the 256 will be made this July. If approved, we'll be expending funds from this new advancement by the start of the 25-26 school year, and repayment will begin in January of 2026. The expected payments will be similar to the bond that we're paying off in July, so it will be a minimal impact on our future debt service rate. The repayment term is for 5 years at 1%. Pretty good. Bank won't do that for you. So again, we're just requesting permission to apply for the common school loan or advancement to purchase these technology items in the amount of $635,500.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Holyfield? No questions? This action? A motion?
Move that we give permission to apply for the Holyfield.
Second. For action, so all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Thank you.
Okay. Board consideration for approving elementary math curriculum materials.
Thank you. I have our math curricular materials for your consideration this evening. I thought I'd take just a minute and walk through the process that we've used to get us here tonight. So last school year, our teachers at the elementary level worked on evaluating and updating our curriculum maps for math, including aligning them and updating them with the new state standards, and also aligning them with the iLearn checkpoints for grades 3 to 5. Our current curricular tool, Envision, by the publisher Savas, is now out of circulation. So we have an inability to replenish the tool that we use with our students and that our teachers rely on to be able to do their instruction. The Indiana Department of Education creates and annually revises something called the High Quality Curricular Materials Advisory List. This supports schools in implementing literacy instruction aligned with the science of reading and also curriculum for science, technology, engineering, and math. This is in accordance with the Indiana Code. So they've created a list for us for math and elementary. There were 5 approved resources that are on the list. So we took those 5 resources, and in February, our elementary teachers were given an opportunity to use a resource evaluation tool to go through all of those materials and give their opinions on how those materials align with our instruction, our curriculum maps. There also were parent volunteers that reviewed and evaluated the material. All those results were then collected and summarized by our instructional leadership team, which is a cross-representation of elementary teachers from all our elementary schools, including a couple of our coaches as well. The instructional leadership team then took those results and made the recommendation that we go with Envision, the tool that we were already using, but the updated version of. It fit our needs best, so that we could continue with our high quality instruction with this particular tool. Envision provides lots of options in the way of alignment with Indiana standards, skills, the new I-Learn assessment, intervention options. They provide a whole entire kit for our use. There's extras with high ability, higher order thinking. There's a digital resource, lots of manipulative, so it's a very usable resource. We feel that its familiarity allows us to have a smooth transition, but that was not the reason why this tool was chosen. It was selected because it fit our needs for instruction. So moving forward tonight, that allows us an opportunity to start professional development with our teachers before the end of the school year potentially, and then provide a comprehensive plan for summer collaborative work, and developing a plan for into the next school year as well, which is pretty typical of this point. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but if you don't have any, I would for approval of this math particular tool, Envision.
I guess I don't necessarily, I just, this is very. I guess I do have, not necessarily about this, just my own capacity. Is this, do you know how nationally this is utilized, this? I know in Indiana it's one of 5, but
Yeah.
just is it?
It is definitely one that is used nationally. They have a national version of it as well. As far as numbers, I don't have that, but I can get that.
No, I mean, no worries, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Perfect. This does require action, board. So, if there's no further questions, all those, we have a motion.
So moved.
Go ahead and say.
I'll second.
Okay, seeing as there is no further discussion, this does require action. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, board.
Okay, public comment, non-agenda. Agenda.
We have one person signed in, Mr. Brian.
Good evening, board, and Dr. McCall. I want to share some concerns I had on Dr. Barron stating before the City Council that the board has an unwritten rule against responding to questions, comments, and concerns presented in public participation during board meetings. What? What unwritten rule? If there is such a thing, it needs to be struck from the unwritten rule book immediately. Yes, these are public business meetings for conducting the business of the board. And although recent state law has said boards must include public comment periods in board meetings, nowhere are boards legally required to respond to the public. But practically, you must respond. When you don't respond to speakers' questions, you come off looking like a stonewaller or, my apologies, a dolt. Students who are hurting have gotten up before you and told you, I am hurting. And you have said nothing, no reply, not even a good night and thank you, whoever. That's not part of our job and nothing good can come from it, must be your thinking, I would guess. How do you think speakers feel after being, to all appearances, ignored? I'll tell you, a lot of ill will has come from your silence. A lot of ill will. I hear this from the ignored. I myself have asked questions to the board in the past and been ignored. Not always, but guess which times I remember. The recent discussion of board member residency was a perfect case in point. Dr. Barron, if you had simply said to the woman's concerns, but I do live in Valpo, I have a second home in Wisconsin, that would have done so much to explain and to nip much of the hoopla in the bud. The number of times I have driven home from these meetings laughing to myself at how the board has once again shot itself in the foot by not respecting the public enough to answer a question. God forbid you should all take off your shoes for all the holes we see. And you're even missing a whole foot by this point. Now, I have said this before, and I know each and every one of you, and I know you all have the best, I know all of you to be good, engaged people with the best interests, of this school community in mind and at heart. But the people out there in TV land and in the audience do not necessarily know that. So why on earth would you allow yourselves to appear to the general public to be a stone wall or a dolt when you're not? Directly to Ms. Cruz, as the newbie on the board, there is no such rule that you don't speak to the public in meetings. Do not listen to anyone who tells you that. And make it clear to future members who follow you and join you on the board, there is not and must not be any notion that you don't respond to your constituents. So, please speak. Acknowledge each and every speaker and each and every concern. Answer all questions. Demonstrate you've listened and understood. Don't just sit there. Your foot just isn't big enough for any more holes.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Brian, I want to correct you on something. Thank you for sending the email out earlier. I appreciate the preparation. I did not say there was an unwritten rule. I went back and listened to my city council speech. I said the decorum of a school board meeting is to not have a back and forth. I never said the word unwritten rule. Watch the video. And the other thing is, you claim that I never told anybody that I had a second home in Wisconsin. That's simply not true. I have text messages, emails, plenty of it. You did. You said that I didn't answer the question from that lady. Okay? I had answered it before that already. To people that matter, the city council and people like that, the newspaper and other people and every board member here. Okay, so the question was answered already. So when you said that I didn't answer that lady, I'd answered it about 6 or 7 times already. Okay? Just want to be clear on that.
May I comment?
Sure.
I would just comment, and this sort of goes to my point here. You did not say that in the public meeting to the public. You did not say.
In a school board meeting, I did not.
You did not.
Because my belief is the decorum of the school board meetings to not have a back and forth like we're currently doing.
Okay.
That doesn't mean the other 4 board members can't do that. They're welcome to do whatever they want. There is no unwritten rule. That's my
I'll go
point.
back and listen.
That's how I believe. Me.
I'm pretty sure it was my impression that you used the
No,
word.
I used the word
unwritten rule.
decorum.
If I didn't, I apologize. But in any case, that also goes to the point that if you had said to the board, yes, you may have talked with others about it, but if you had said to the public who were listening to this for the first time, like, what's going on? If you had said that, I think that would have helped a lot. And just in general, if you respond to the public appreciates that and goes away not feeling stonewalled or ignored. Thanks.
Okay, I have a response, right? I mean, this is just my personal opinion, so this is not for anybody else either. I think the school board meetings are one place out of several where we should hear the public. We should explain things to the public as well. I think sometimes there are times when we should respond and sometimes when we need to step back a little bit, and I'll explain that. If I have the right information to respond, I would do that. But sometimes I don't have all the information yet, and I want to make sure that I'm not giving out false information that could start rumors or problems or discontent in the community. So I would want to wait. Sometimes we do, for those reasons, need to do a little bit more research, or we need to have a discussion so we can come to a consensus on an issue that we need to vote on, because we can't all be giving personal opinions on matters that we're going to need to vote on. So that's when I would want to wait. With a personal issue, as came up with Rob's residency, I think that has to be a personal response. You know, I don't think we could respond for Rob. I think that was up to him or any one of us. If something came up in a meeting, I think it would be up to us to either respond if we are comfortable or have the information, or but not have everybody else respond for it. And that's just all my opinion.
You know, for me, I don't think it's intentional to really feel as if we aren't listening or want to respond. I agree with what you shared. I personally prefer, would not prefer back and forth. I'm not sure if whatever I say be enough for everyone. I feel like it may be beneficial for a few that's in the crowd, but there's still going to be someone in this crowd who still is not satisfactory. Won't agree with what I've said or consider that satisfactory. I do appreciate though emails and phone calls. So I can say many of us have talked to people not in this public. I guess we can talk about that, and I'm sure there'll be conversations on Facebook or any platform about what is the best way. Everybody has a way that they feel is the best way. Maybe we should say, you know, I try to at least say thank you. People get appreciative of that. But what I have found that this board has done is if we've spoken to someone in the community, we didn't have the answers, we go to each other. You heard this, have you seen this? And we may not give a public response, but we've given that individual the best. I don't want to give misinformation because then that'll be the next conversation. How they'll run me through Facebook there too, or wherever social media platform. But I agree that there are some times that I feel that we can say, we may be able to say, like, I guess in this instance, maybe he could have, but would that have been satisfactory if you just finally said that? I don't know. You know? I wish that we could say the right thing for everybody and everybody go like, oh my God, that was such a great board meeting. And we all feel a part of the community. That's what we really want. We don't want to feel as if you all are being, all we want to hear what you have to say. But I want you to really know that if we hadn't said it, we're now saying it. When we hear things that come from the community, we will go to each other and we will ask, hey, what do you feel about it? And we may or may not come back and say it publicly, but we have gone back and said it to people.
I'm the best example of that. COVID. We had 50% of the audience that was for masks, and we had 50% of the audience that was against masks. And there was no win or loss in that situation. So Carl and I probably speak to this the best because we were both on the board at the time, and it's just impossible to make everybody in the room happy. You know, we had people booing each other. I mean, we couldn't participate. It just the professionalism it was not proper to do that at the time. So as a board, we did what we thought was in the best interest of the children of Alpharetta Center. That's what we did, and that's in my opinion the beauty of an appointed board. We made the decisions based on what we thought was the best knowledge that we had at the time. Like Kay said, a lot of times we don't have the knowledge to even have an answer for you at that time. But we will certainly try to find the answer. Let's go out and have a cup of coffee with you, whether it's meet with people that agree or disagree with my thought process. And we're happy to have a discussion at least. You know, I'm a big believer we can disagree on a subject, but we don't have to be disagreeable. You know what I'm saying? I'm a big believer in having a conversation is always important. I want people to see different perspectives. I like to hear perspectives. It's kind of hard to do that, you know, right at the moment sometimes. But COVID would be the best example.
And too, like many of the questions that Kay had, those were questions. You got clarification on that, and then publicly asking those same questions that she already had the answer to, so that, you know, the people who are either watching or present also be able to understand that. I love that as she took us back, let's pull up the deck and go to that page so that it's visual. If we can do better somewhere, I'll say this. Please tell us what that could be, how we could do that. We'll do the best events just to speak, and I'm just kind of saying, Brian, that's all, okay, I get it. I'm not doing my best. You know, we're reminded when we go through food board training, we're only one thing, or however, board member. So I want to be cautious that I'm giving Erica speaking on behalf of the we're learning to agree to disagree. We're getting along doing it.
All I'll say is, I know I'm the greenest member on early and inevitably today, but I feel like I'm always talking, so I don't know if that's what that case is, but I always try to ask questions, make commentary, but I also say, knock on wood, I haven't really been too harsh in my 7-8 months here, which thankfully, you know, smooth gliding, and hopefully we'll continue to do so. Appreciate your comment. I could, someone else want? Very important.
Yeah, can I thank Dr. Barrett? And just to be clear, despite what just happened, I'm not looking for or advocating back and forth between speakers and the board. Let's call this just an exception this year. And I do appreciate all your comments and your comments. Thank you. But I'm not looking for feedback. Just thank you for your comments. We'll look into it, or like you said, we'll talk among ourselves and we'll get back to you. Or we understand that you're hurting. We understand that you have a concern. Thank you. We appreciate that. Actually say that. Sometimes you've actually, or what Ms. Cruz, how you just wrapped up. Appreciate that. I mean, that just goes a long way. But no more back and forth. That's what we're ready to
Let me claim my time. So one comment that I did want to make is I know that there's been a lot of discussion about some I know that we've shared specifically as it relates to S1, and he was actually kind enough to take some time last week just to kind of understand the impacts that will have on Belleville community specifically. So one is share some key takeaways. I know Kay asked her question as it relates to bonds, which I think is helpful, and Dr. McCall touched on clarifying funding versus revenue growth. So just again, recapping that it does not cut current school funding. However, it does limit. I think another really important thing is just how strong of a we do have a fund, and that to this team's credit, lots of years of strong financial planning. But the bigger picture is the long-term planning and advocacy around not only this bill, but some of the other education bills that are up are really important. So I'm trying to state this just very matter-of-factly. SB1 is framed as providing property tax relief, but the reality of that is that the average household, this amounts to approximately $50 per year. So when we weigh that against the potential impact on school funding, it raises just a really important question. Is this limiting public school funding really worth such a minimal reduction? And so I kind of ask you all that today, and whatever your thoughts are, please reach out to Carbonell and Soliday and share that feedback with them, because it's going to have some really long-term impacts on not only our school but a lot of other schools across the state. And outside of SB1, a few other bills that bills that are tracking are HB 1498, and these are two bills that are supported by ISBA that I think are important to note. So House Bill 1498 just establishes new categories of school performance. So no longer will schools receive an A or F performance grade. So just something to kind of watch. Again, also House Bill 1500. So this creates a competitive grant to be administered by the Department of Education. And so this is changing the way teachers receive. So just an important thing to watch, especially since it's replacing the designation between highly effective, effective, improvement necessary, and not effective, and shifting it more on student. So another one to watch. I will say e-bills that ISBA is opposed to, we already touched on Senate Bill 1, and that would be about $3 million for Buffalo Community Schools over 2 years. And yeah, that's about it that I have right now. But another thing that I just kind of want to state is I obviously watched some of the other districts' school board meetings recently, and I had an opportunity to speak with a few other district school board members. And I found out, kind of shame on me, I didn't know this, that we did not, or we don't have a legislative liaison. My understanding is that's voted on during the board president, vice president roll call guidance. And so, you know, I think that's a really important. I'd like to make a motion to normalize that within Buffalo community.
You just.
Well, I know you've unofficially been acting as it. That's why I said shame on me. I reached out to Erica and I was like, aren't you our liaison? She's like, no. I was like, well, who is? And that's when I kind of tried to understand kind of where this is fitting. You know, and I don't know the history of why we don't have that position or reporting in board meetings, but I think it's important, especially with just everything that's going on, not only federal.
It is legislative last 3 years and really if it weren't for serving in this capacity, I don't know how in tune I would pay attention to the deals that she the deals that just watching how they move house to house. I don't think I'd be able to. I think this position requires you to be that more. I'm just interested, I guess I can't questions. Interested how the audience handles that. Are you aware of the community? How well can we as a school board or community make sure that these are conversations? Granted, they're not decided upon, but they are in conversation. Because of that, it's a likelihood that they could be passed. How does that affect? So, honestly, if it weren't for serving in this capacity before, I enjoy those settings because it does tell us what to and how we as a community have to handle it. I will say this, Dr. McCall has been amazing at asking. I think he's just like trapped in this young body. Sometimes I go like, why are you thinking about that? But because the conversation is, we know how comfortable we are now as a community. I mean, to have $10 million in a rainy day fund is wow, right? But I'm also, I tell people, even serving in this capacity, I cannot ignore that we are surrounded by other who aren't this us, who aren't able to say that, hey, we got a rainy day fund of $10 million. I mean, they are striving, they're trying to do the best that they can. And I said to Kay earlier when we first came in, I really, and I said this before, I really hope Valparaiso realizes how blessed this community really is, that we can say we have $10 million. And so in talking to Dr. McCall, you know, I said, you know, have you really been thinking about if we get to the point where you have to, some programs are cut or positions are cut? You know, we have social workers, we have more staff, we have all these nice positions in place, and if our money changes, we all know we talked about budgeting and having a conservative budget. What is that going to do, and how is it going to impact the community? So I encourage those of you sitting in the audience, watching on live, is to make sure that they connect with. I will tell you this: I was comfortable in many of where we're going. But I am just can't only just think of how well we're doing. with our.
Yeah, so why don't we, table it, an idea, I think it's a great idea, but why don't we table it for tonight, and then we can add it to one of our next agendas or. That's fine.
I think that's a great idea, but that's one of those examples where we can't make an on-the-spot decision. We need to think about it just a little bit. But I do think it's a great idea.
Okay. Dr. McCall, do you have any comments?
You better have.
All right. You know, it's been a really good third quarter. Report cards are finalized, and always a time where, you know, whether springtime and the spring break with rejuvenation, you know, getting ready for that final sprint of quarter. Finish strong, sprint through the finish line, guys, right? In your eyes, so yeah, I'm looking at you. But it's also just a really enjoyable time. I was able to get out and on Monday especially. St. Patrick's Day is a great day. In elementary school is high participation. And so I went over to Flint Lake and walk in and really like being an island. There's so many shades of green. And you're looking out, all the kids are decked out, various shades. And the kindergarten teachers do an amazing job of bringing wonderment and awe to setting out the Lucky Charms cereal. And, you know, leprechauns were able to evade it, and they were mischievous, knocked over some things, and walked through some paint, and so there were leprechaun footprints, you know, across the countertops. And I walk in and classroom. You know, kindergarten kids are just, and for a number of reasons, but they're just so welcoming. Just a tall guy, some of them remember me from last time, you know, Dr. McCall, you know. And it's just, it's great to see them, feathers and carpet, but they were so excited to show me the leprechaun autumn. It's just those little things that our teachers do every day that make it memorable. It's kind of our theme this year, make it memorable. But they do that every year. So they have student growth and also student growth in school and community, wonder and awe and keen and special. And it's not just kindergarten. That the high school later on, and Mr. Hefner, our physics teacher, doing a review, making it more engaging than just okay. We've got a lot of different, a lot of different things. And in fact, our Viking View newsletter is coming out. Break. And that's the thing with that is our people. What makes us special? We talk a lot, but it's not the renovated buildings, state-of-the-art technology, specialized programming, people who make it go. We need to be where people want to be, not just families want to move to, students want to be here, feel a part of something, but our staff members all across the line, all 898 want to be here. Our new folks are here. Couple, not a place. We need to welcome our new people, make us better.
There you go. All right, adjourned. Thank you.